Imagine a king so powerful that nobody dared to laugh at him. Not his servants, not his soldiers, not even the man who cut his hair. But the earth did. Yes, the earth laughed first. Everyone remembers King Midas and the golden touch, the wish, the gold, the regret. But after all of that, Midas had one more humiliation waiting for him. And this one was worse, because gold ruined his life in public. But this curse made him ridiculous in private. Donkey ears. A king with donkey ears. Greek myths really did not believe in gentle punishments. But listen carefully. This is not a funny story about a foolish king. This is a story about power, about shame, about bad judgment, and about the dangerous belief that if you can hide something, you can control it. That is why this myth still feels modern, because today people still hide their ears. Not literal ears, of course, that would be too easy. Today, the ears are hidden under suits, under uniforms, under official statements, under polished speeches, under words like stability, security, tradition, and national interest. Sometimes a powerful person lies so confidently that everyone around him pretends the lie has become truth. Sometimes a leader makes a terrible decision and the whole room stays silent. And that is where this myth becomes dangerous. Because Midas did not only have donkey ears, he had ears that could not hear wisdom. He had a crown, but not judgment. He had power, but not discernment. And when a normal man is foolish, people may laugh. But when a king is foolish, everyone pays. So how did it happen? How did the man who once turned everything into gold become the king who had to hide his own head? It began with music. Not war, not murder, music. A contest was held between Apollo and Pan. Apollo played with harmony, order, and divine beauty. Pan played with wild, earthly, instinctive sound. When the music ended, the judge declared Apollo the winner. That should have been the end. But of course, Midas had an opinion. And if history teaches us anything, it is this. Some people are never more confident than when they are completely wrong. Midas objected. He said Pan should have won. Maybe he truly believed it. Maybe he preferred Pan's rough sound. Or maybe Midas confused personal taste with truth. That is a small mistake when ordinary people do it. But when powerful people do it, it becomes policy. It becomes punishment. It becomes law. So Apollo punished the exact place where Midas had failed. The ears. If you cannot hear truth, then wear the symbol of bad hearing. And beneath the crown of King Midas, 2 donkey ears began to rise. From that day on, Midas had one mission: not to become wiser, not to confess, not to learn humility. No, just hide the ears, hide the shame, protect the image. Because for many powerful people, the image matters more than the truth. But one ordinary man would soon discover the secret: the barber. The only man close enough to the king's head to see what the whole kingdom was not allowed to know. And that is where the story becomes darker. Because sometimes the most dangerous person in a kingdom is not the rebel, not the enemy, not the army. Sometimes it is the quiet man who knows the truth and has nowhere safe to say it. Now imagine you are the barber. You are just a normal man. You cut hair. You don't want trouble. Then one day, King Midas sits in front of you. He removes his crown, and you see it. 2 donkey ears on the king's head. Now, what do? Laugh? No. That is a very quick way to disappear. Say something? Also no. Because this is not your friend. This is the king. So the barber stays quiet. He cuts the hair. He pretends everything is normal. But inside he is breaking. Because now he knows a truth he is not allowed to say. And that is the real problem. The king has the shame. But the barber has to carry the silence. That still happens today. A powerful person makes a mistake. Someone ordinary sees it. But if they speak, they lose their job, their safety, their future. So they stay silent, not because they agree, but because they are afraid. And honestly, who can blame him? Imagine sitting at dinner while people say, "Our king is so wise," and you are thinking, "My friend, your king has donkey ears." But he cannot say it, not to his wife, not to his friend, not even as a joke. And slowly the secret becomes too heavy. So one day, the barber goes far away, away from the palace, away from people. He digs a small hole in the ground. Then he bends down and whispers, "King Midas has donkey ears." That is all. One sentence. He thinks the story is finished. But Greek myths do not let people escape that easily. From that same place, reeds begin to grow. The wind passes through them, and the reeds start whispering, "King Midas has donkey ears." Again and again. Now the secret is out. Not because the barber betrayed him, not because an enemy attacked him, but because truth found another way. And this is the point. Midas could control the palace. He could frighten the barber. He could hide under a crown. But he could not control the wind. Imagine being so powerful and still losing to grass. That is the joke of the myth. And it is also the warning. When powerful people hide the truth, they often ask, "Who leaked it?" But they almost never ask, "Why was there something to hide?" That is why this story still works. Because Midas did not lose his throne here. He lost something more fragile, his image. And for some people, that is worse. And this is where Midas becomes very human. Because his real problem was not the ears, it was the laughter. Think about it. He was still king. He still had the palace. He still had gods. He still had power. But suddenly, none of that mattered, because people knew. And once people know the thing you are trying to hide, your power feels smaller. That is what Midas feared, not losing the throne, losing control of the story. Because a king can survive many things: a bad decision, a failed war, a terrible speech. But being laughed at, that is dangerous. Because laughter breaks the spell. It reminds everyone that the powerful person is still just a person, and sometimes a very foolish one. That is why shame is so powerful. It makes people hide. It makes them lie. It makes them punish the person who speaks, instead of fixing the thing that was wrong. Midas could have said, "Yes, I judged badly. Yes, I was proud. Yes, I was foolish." But no, he chose the usual path: hide it, control it, protect the image. And that is where many people lose themselves, not because they made one mistake, but because they spend the rest of their life defending it. That is the real curse. The ears were just the beginning. The real punishment was living every day afraid that someone would notice. And maybe that is why this myth still feels uncomfortable. Because all of us have something we try to hide. A weakness, a failure, a bad decision. A truth we do not want others to see. But the story of Midas gives a brutal warning. Whatever you bury without facing will eventually find a voice. Maybe not through reeds, maybe through your behavior, your anger, your silence, your fear, your need to control everything. Because hidden shame does not stay hidden, it leaks. And for Midas, it whispered through the wind. And maybe this is why Midas needed two curses. The golden touch punished his desire. The donkey ears punished his ego. The first curse asked, "What happens when you want too much?" The second asked something worse. "What happens when you refuse to hear the truth?" Midas lost his peace because of gold, but he lost his image because of shame. And for many people, shame is harder to survive. Because people can forgive a mistake, but they do not easily forget a mask falling off. That is the final lesson of King Midas. Your hidden truth does not disappear. It waits. It grows pressure. And one day, if you refuse to speak it, life will speak it for you. Maybe not through reeds, maybe through your anger, your fear, your need to control everything, your silence, or the way you react when someone gets too close to the truth. So the question is not, what are you hiding? The real question is, how much of your life are you spending trying to make sure nobody hears it?